How does a business owner or, a manager know that if they need a facilitator, can they not manage or facilitate their own meetings?
Great question. If I'm a participant in a meeting, I'm worried about what we're discussing, about my content, and I often forget process and structure. I forget the other pieces because that's not my expertise. So if people try to facilitate their own meetings, what often happens is one of two extremes. Either they talk a lot and get their ideas across, often at the expense of other people's ideas. And sometimes people shut down because they aren't being heard, or they go way over on the other end and they don't say their ideas and they're only worrying about, is everybody being heard? Are we considering the options? Are the newer people getting their ideas heard? And therefore their ideas aren't heard. So if you run your own meeting, you're usually either talking too much or you're not giving your ideas at all. So it's really difficult to participate and facilitate a meeting. I remember one time I worked with a group, and the first time I worked with them, people came up and thanked me for working with them because when the manager tried to facilitate his own meetings, they often felt that they were railroaded to agree with his ideas.
Interesting. And now it makes a lot more sense why a facilitator is needed and the sort of benefits that can come out of it. So Valerie, today we're talking about facilitation. If you had to facilitate a meeting where you wanted to participate, what would you do?
Oh, first thing I do is try to find someone to facilitate for me. It is very difficult because it's very difficult to both facilitate and participate. If I had to, I would first talk to the participants about me playing both roles and when I was in which role. I tend to stand when I facilitate a group. So if I was going to be a facilitator and a participant, what I would do is I would have that signal that I would actually stand when I'm in facilitator role, and then I would sit when I was in participant role so that people would know what role I'm playing. It would be really clear. They'd have that visual cue. And then I try to keep an awareness of all those moving pieces, the content and the process and the structures all at the same time. I think I'd also plan in advance what I wanted to say so that I had a list of it. So when I was worrying about content and process, my content would still be written down. And then I think during the meeting itself, I get lots of feedback to make sure that I wasn't either over-participating and they were being cut off, I wasn't ignoring their ideas, or neither was I under-participating. So I think I'd get feedback all along the way, be aware of all the moving pieces, plan when I wanted to say, and then have that visual cue for when I'm in facilitator role and when I'm in participant role. As I said, it's difficult to do.
No, I can imagine playing both parts. As a facilitator, what do you think the most important thing is that you bring?
Well, as we talked about, I bring the process and the structure. I really am a process facilitator. That's my expertise. I bring in facilitation experience. I've been facilitating for the majority of my career, so over 25 years. But I think one of the most important things that I bring is neutrality. I don't have a vested interest in option A, B, or C. I don't work for the company. My career is not going to be impacted by the decisions that are made. All I really care about is how was the decision made? Was it well thought through? Was it well researched? Were the options discussed? Did people take a look at the risks? Were people's opinions heard? That's more what I care about.
You've facilitated meetings in many different organizations. What is the most difficult group to facilitate?
Most people would assume that senior people are the most difficult to facilitate. It's because they're powerful, they're making decisions, but it's not true at all. The most difficult people to facilitate are facilitators. And that's because we all have our own ideas on, the timing for this, or we could try this tool, or how to ask this question, or the process to use. And so the most difficult group to facilitate really is facilitators. So the consulting group that I'm part of, we're a group of master facilitators all over the world. And we have hired external people to facilitate our meetings. And I remember one time we brought a external facilitator in to facilitate a strategic planning meeting. This person was very skilled, and even she had difficulty keeping us on track because we all have our own ideas about what we could do, and we really are specialists in that part of the meeting, and we have difficulty letting go of that.
There seems to be a lot of different reasons of why to hire a facilitator. What are some of the benefits of hiring you as a facilitator?
I really think the main benefit is to use people's limited resources in the most effective way possible. Because a facilitator is really good at designing meetings and designing processes and getting to the outcomes, there's way less unproductive time. There's less time wasted. I think better decisions are made because the facilitator is aware of always moving towards making the decision and making a good decision. Facilitator always ensures there's clarity at the end as well, so people know what decisions were made and what actions are going to be done. There's less confusion. Facilitators manage people's expectations, so people know what's going to happen. So based on, the clarity of the decisions and the actions, people know what to expect, the decisions are well thought through, the time is being used really well. I think you can reach your targets better because people know where they're going and what they need to do to get there.
How do you prep for a new client when you're facilitating one of their meetings?
So the first thing I do is I talk a lot about what do they want to achieve. What do they want to have happen? What do they not want to have happen? And I'll ask this more than once and in different wording, because if I'm not real clear on where we're going to go, then I can't design anything to move towards that. So once I have that clarity on where we're going, then I have to think about what makes sense. What's the best steps or tools or instruments to get to those outcomes, because there's lots of possibilities. So then I create a draft agenda, review that with the leader to make sure that what we're doing, how we're doing it, the kinds of things we're going to be doing inside the agenda make sense and get us to where we want to go to. And then I'm always learning as well. What's a new thing to try? Taking a course, reading a book, or reading an article about something that's new, something that's practical, something that people have used and works well.